Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. On Apple, we recommend Apple Podcasts. On Android, we recommend Spotify. Also, check out the Five Reasons YouTube channel for all your South Florida sports content, including plenty on that disaster with the Dolphins right now. Also, check out 1-305-800-PAIN. If you have a car accident, reach out to them. Again, it's 305-800-PAIN or 305-800-PAIN. 1-305-800-PAIN.com. Car accident, slip and fall 24/7. They also speak Spanish there. We know that for some of you, they may be more comfortable in that language. And they can handle everything for you, get you to the right attorney right away. They're fast. And again, 24/7. That's the big thing here. We've actually done some podcasts from their studio in Doral. We'll be back there shortly, but they service the entire area down here, Miami, Doral, Hialeah, Fort Lauderdale, wherever you are. If you have a car accident, reach out to them. It's 305-800-PAIN. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pit. Still five on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to morning. They love to sleep in us, never catch us on. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the court to the streets. Yeah, Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Going to do a post red, white, and pink scrimmage recap, but I can't really do that to you. First thing, great cause for cancer research. Absolutely great cause. Great that the Heat do this year after year after year. It's very meaningful to many inside the organization, including Davion Mitchell and others. So terrific cause. We had Brady out there tonight, but I can't really do a podcast on the basketball from it. There was no Bam, no Hero, no Caspers, no who else am I missing? No Jovic. So you got to see a bunch of guys run around and unfortunately miss a bunch of threes again. But we're gonna stay away from that tonight, just because again it's hard to really comment on it. I sent Brady out there and he had to do the takeaways on it, and he just texted me. He's like, I don't know what to take away from this. I said, take a few,
and that's fair.
And that is fair. So today's floor plan, we're gonna do something else. And typically I bring Howard on for this. Howard Beck, who I used to work with at Bleacher Report, one of my favorite NBA writers. And people in the business. He's now at the Ringer, and he started something I think last year, maybe he did it the year before, which is called the NBA Clarity Index. And essentially, this is not saying which are the best teams. This is saying which are the teams that know what their plan and direction are, and we can figure it out, essentially. So he has some teams grouped that you wouldn't think would be grouped. Like, for instance, in his first tier, and he's got some interesting names for these, he has one team that's competing for a championship again in Oklahoma City, another in Denver. And then he has Washington, which ain't competing for anything except lottery balls, but they know that that's what they're competing for, and everybody can kind of figure out their plan. And this is a good exercise because there have been complaints that the Heat have been sort of stuck in the middle. And I wrote about this for Sports Illustrated today. So worth taking a look at, and that's what we're going to do today. And let's go through some of the tiers before we get to the Heat. And kind of understand what he's getting at here. So this is the Clarity Index for 25-26. And again, he has a whole explanation on how he comes up with these tiers. Tier 1 is, there's 6 tiers, just to be clear on this. And tier 1 is the Everclear tier. These teams know exactly what they're trying to do, and so do we. The Cavs, the Nuggets, the Knicks, the Thunder, the Magic, a team I've been following a little bit because we're also running their on SI site, and then the Wizards. So basically 5 kind of contenders, right? Two teams that are projected to be three teams that's projected
Definitely.
to be three of the top teams in the East, and then the two teams that are projected to be the top in the West, right? So that's understandable.
And the Wizards.
Greg,
Haha.
and the Wizards, right? And again, his explanation for the Wizards. And again, by the way, I'm Ethan Skolnick. I should have said this, and this is Greg Sylvander. You can follow us wherever you want to follow us. We almost got basketball. I'm going to be at the game in Orlando, by the way, for the season opener. So we're gearing
That's when
up
it counts. We know that.
after 4 months of irrelevant podcasts. Okay, so the Clarity Index has these teams understanding direction, and I think we get that. The Cavs, I mean, they have to compete in the playoffs this year because, I mean, last year they wasted being the number one seed. The Nuggets finally added to their bench group, and they've given Jokic
I really
a chance.
love what they did.
I think they had the best offseason, actually. The Knicks, which we kind of know what, I mean, they're trying to win. There's no question. Whether or not they get off the top, another story. The Thunder, and then the Magic, who went all in on Desmond Bane. And then, of course, the Wizards, who his explanation, finally, we have the gleefully tanking Wizards who make our highest tier for relentlessly pursuing lottery balls, draft picks, and cap room with zero shame. Yes, it's ugly and painful, but the Wizards have a definable plan and are executing it just as well as, say, the Nuggets are executing their plan to win another title. Okay, so do you have any objections with any of those in the top tier in terms of clarity?
No, first I want to say I love this style of writing and thinking about the teams this way. I think is a really smart way to look at it. So shout out to Howard for that. I have big shoes to fill because yes, you typically would have had him on to talk about his writing.
Oh, that's fine. You can fill it.
I have no objections. I think all these teams we think they're going to contend. I don't know that they all necessarily will come to fruition that way, but I definitely think that their intentions and the way that they went about their off seasons all indicate that they're clearly going after a title or trying to lose as much as possible in Washington's case. So no objections with tier one.
Okay, so tier two, the side view mirror tier. Objects and obstacles are closer than they appear. He has the Nets, similar to the Wizards. The Nets are committed to a multi-year tank job, and their owner base just said so, and the accumulation of youth picks and cap room. But Brooklyn gets a one-tier demotion for botching the tank part of this exercise. They waited too long to trade Dennis Schroeder and foolishly hired a head coach, Jordy Fernandez, who insisted on getting the most out of his ragtag roster. They also, by the way, drafted 5 guys who can't score in the first round this year, but that's a whole nother story.
I can't believe they kept all the picks.
It's crazy, right? I mean, and then they traded for Haywood, who obviously they're going to try to flip for a second-round pick at the deadline, and that's going to infuriate Heat fans because the Heat fans had to give up a second-round pick to move off of Haywood. Of course, there were luxury tax concerns there, but then ultimately the Nets will probably get a second rounder for Haywood as long as he plays enough. The other teams on here are more in the competition space. The Warriors, who did finally add players, including Al Horford. The Rockets, who of course went after Durant. The Bucks, who have to compete, although I don't know how they're going to do it with that roster around Giannis. And the Wolves. I don't really have any objections to any of this, but like the Bucks part is funny, Greg. We'll give the Bucks credit for this much. They're so committed, read desperate, to keeping Giannis Antetokounmpo happy that they were willing to A, waive and stretch Dame Lillard, clogging their cap for years to come, and B, use their current cap room to sign Miles Turner to a hefty contract. Cool. Just one problem. The rest of the roster sort of blows. I mean, there's no way to look at it other than that. And Giannis knows it. Thus, all of the source reports and passive-aggressive comments from Giannis himself about his future in Milwaukee, the clock is ticking, and the picture gets murkier by the day. Yeah, I think that's fair, right? Right? I mean, if they're for top 4 in the East, Giannis is MVP, I think. That roster's so bad.
Yeah, I have no problem with them in this tier for sure because the obstacles will show themselves eventually. I'm surprised actually Golden State didn't make tier 1 because it's pretty damn clear that they are all in on Steph's final great years. And Howard mentions in the piece that the one thing that held them back from tier 1 is the Kuminga situation. I don't know if I agree that that's that impactful. I think we all know what Golden State is up to. So that might be the one team I could say could move up a tier, but otherwise they're all perfectly placed. Houston, I'm glad is in this tier and not tier 1 because I still want to see it from them. I don't know that they are ready necessarily, even though Kevin Durant has to be ready now. And the Van
Right.
Vliet injury obviously didn't help.
Well, I think without the Van Vliet injury, you could have made a case for them being in tier one. But I think the Van Vliet injury makes it harder because now it's like, okay, what kind of line? Udoka is experimenting with like lineups with like everybody 6'7" or taller. It's going to be really interesting if they go against Golden State, which is basically is playing midget old basketball. Like I'm not sold on Golden State. I'm sold on Steph. I know people are going to say Jimmy. Um, I don't know, man. Horford's still a good player. You still have Draymond, but they better get to the finish line. I don't know that they're going to get to the finish line with, again, a small roster that's slow and also not big. And Kerr doesn't play as young guys.
And
So
they need a guy like Pods to kind of step up in
yes,
the way that Miami would like Jaime Jaquez to regroup and find himself again. Like they're in very similar spaces right now. And I think that Golden State needs Pods even more than Miami needs Jaquez,
I do.
frankly. So
Yeah.
so that's something to watch as well.
Yeah, Pods is being counted on to play big minutes. Jaquez is not at the moment, although he has looked better in the preseason. All right, before we get to the Heat side, because you notice we're not there yet, okay? Now, just to be clear, Howard had the Heat in his fifth group, his fifth tier last year. So we'll let you know which one he has them in this year, but he does not have them in the third tier either. So let's get to the third tier as I try to scroll down here. Third tier, the frosted glass tier. There's a plan here, but it's hazy. Hawks, Pistons, Celtics, Pacers. I'm grouping those two together for a reason.
Yeah.
Sixers, Spurs. I'm a little surprised the Pistons aren't in a higher tier. It's pretty clear what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to give Cade Cunningham some shooters around him, right? They're going to build around Cade. They added Duncan. They replaced Malik Beasley. They brought in Karis LeVert. I kind of see what they're doing. I kind of see what the Hawks are doing too. Like it feels like they're transitioning. They're trying to maximize Trey, but they're transitioning a little bit away from Trey with Risa Shea, Porzingis, who I think actually will help Trey if he plays, and Jalen Johnson sort of becoming their best player. So I sort of see their plan, right? I mean, the Celtics and the Pacers. The reason it's hazy is because their best players, respectively, are not going to play for the majority of the season, if at all. But I kind of know what their plans are too. It's kind of like holding pattern for a year and then bring them back, right? So I don't know.
This
I
tier
I
almost
don't.
feels like a lot of teams that we kind of know what they're up to, but what they're up to just likely isn't they're not contending. I know that Detroit is trying to get into that space, but they're not there yet. And a lot of people really like Atlanta's offseason, but they're not there yet. To your point, they're trying to become like guaranteed top 4 seed in the East. Like that's like the next jump for them, right? The Celtics and the Pacers, they're kind of in mulligan years. And the Sixers and the Spurs, we kind of understand where both of those teams are, completely opposite ends of the spectrum. So I'm surprised because the way that he classifies this tier, he says that it's hazy. I'm surprised Miami didn't make this tier because a lot of people kind of think that the Heat's plan is hard to point out and is, quote unquote hazy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think Detroit would like to be in the same tier as Orlando, but I think the difference here is that Orlando went all in on Bane, and the Pistons didn't make that move this year. Having the Spurs here too, you could say they're higher. I kind of know their plan, except the Fox trade is the one that kind of throws me a little bit because then they ended up drafting, Dylan Harper. They still have Castle, so I
Major
don't know.
logjam.
Right? Like, what are they going to do with? I mean, there's a lot of good players, but it feels like somebody's going to get moved eventually to go get a true 4 to play next to Wemby. That would seem to be the direction, and they'll probably have their pick of that. I mean, the guy to go after is obviously the guy in Milwaukee. I mean, it feels to me like you're stacking assets here. And then, could you highlight a trade with Dylan Harper or Stephon Castle and Fox and go get Giannis and still have one of those guards? And you still have, you still got some other good players there, man. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. Like, although some of those guys could be moved, like the Spurs are doing some stuff. Like as long as Wemby stays healthy, so I
That's
get
the
it.
key.
Right. It just hasn't sort of percolated yet because again, now they have these guards and they got to see how they all play. But Dylan Harper needs to play a huge role. Castle's great, and Fox obviously is going to have a lot of value around the league.
They
So
are a sneaky, honest team. I'm glad you mentioned that. I hadn't really
yeah,
thought that through.
I think it's more than sneaky. I think that I can see it being real attractive to him to be in that organization. I know that there's the pitch for a bigger market, but look, you can win big there if he wants to win big for a number of years and play next to Wemby. Plus, I think their personalities will align. It feels like a fit. And look, if Wemby's going to keep stepping out behind the 3-point line, then Giannis doesn't have to. So it's an interesting one to look at. All right, we're going to talk though about the Heat eventually. See, we have not mentioned them. We're already to tier 3. We're going to get to tier 4 in a second, but before we do, okay, would you have put money on where the Heat would have finished in this? I don't know if you would have, but if you would have sent money to somebody, it's got to be through Cash App. We're going to tell you about a couple of things for Cash App. First thing, download the app. Okay, and you're going to use a new code here. It's Secure10. Secure10. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But also get the Cash App card. Built-in security that keeps your money safe with the protections you expect. Get the Cash App card, and not only do you get access to a ton of perks and benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concert pre-sales or discounts on popular brands, but you also have extra security with the power to instantly lock or unlock your card right from your phone in just one tap. If a suspicious transaction pops up on your card, Cash App has your back by automatically declining the purchase and sending you a heads up to confirm if it's you or not. Behind the scenes, you can rest assured knowing your account balance is protected by 24/7 fraud monitoring. Spend with peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or cash.app/card. Also, for a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code SECURE days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking service is provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Discounts provided by Cash App, a blocking brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Okay, so full disclosure. Call up the. You have it there. Call up the Heat's tier here. Howard bumped them one tier in terms of their clarity. He moved them up from the 5th tier to the 4th tier.
The kaleidoscope tier. He says colorful and compelling, but a bit unsettled.
Yes.
That's the Dallas Mavericks, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, and the Heat. And it's interesting because he talks about it, and I won't regurgitate exactly what he wrote, but he talks about how a lot of these teams, you can kind of figure out what they're doing, but it's more of, does what they're doing make sense, and has the plan come together yet in the Lakers case? I think that I understand where he has these teams. I think that the Heat is his reasoning of trading Jimmy and them moving up a tier,
Yeah.
I think is interesting. I didn't really connect those dots in that way, but I guess if there was going to be a moment to move on from him, I feel like they probably did it a year too late, but it's probably a lot easier said than done.
I understand why he says that, and I get it, and I know from talking to Howard why he feels that way, and I agree with him. Let's look at it this way, okay? Let's say that they had held him until the end of last season, brought him into camp this year without giving him the extension. Do you understand what kind of a disaster this would have been? Okay. It already was a disaster. It would have been worse. And also, like, what was their direction with a 35 going on 36-year-old Jimmy Butler making $60 million a year, which is why I keep coming back to this. And I understand that Heat fans are giving him credit for carrying them to the finish line the way he did, and I'll never take that away from him. Nobody else on this current roster could do that or was ever going to do that, okay? So give him credit for that. But that's not him anymore. It's not him anymore, and Golden State's not counting on him to be that anymore. They're counting on the other guy, okay? If the one wears 30 to do that. And Jimmy's just part of that. And even during the playoffs last year, he was really good, like 1 out of every 3 games. That's not enough to carry this group. And there has been a pivot now towards a younger roster. We'll see if it works. But there's only 2 guys, well, 3 guys, Rozier, I guess. But the guys who are going to play, Powell and Wiggins, who are 30 or over, and they're both in their early 30s. And Powell doesn't have a lot of guys who are 21, 22, 21, 24, or 25, in Bam's case, 28. They have clearly pivoted. Like, you can argue about decisions they made to get here. We can argue about what the upsides are of some of these players, whether or not they should have tanked more to get higher picks. But there's no question they've gone younger. So, I mean, as far as clarity, I have more clarity about them than I did before. What I don't have clarity about is who are they going to get to lead this thing. And I don't think they have clarity about that because I don't know how they could. Okay. I mean, we're talking about like if you're talking about getting Giannis, and I'm saying what San Antonio could offer, and the Heat don't have anything like that. So, and plus you add the picks.
They got to get in line.
So I don't have clarity about they got to get in line. I don't have clarity, or somebody's got to want to go there, and then they get in line and they have almost enough. And then somehow that works out. But I have clarity about the direction now. Now, I guess if they sign Tyler to a max extension, I'll have less clarity. But I have clarity about the direction. I just don't have clarity about how they're going to contend again. So I understand why Howard puts them here. I think it's interesting he grouped them with some of the high-profile teams that he did. The Lakers, okay, I mean, the Lakers only don't have clarity because we don't really know what LeBron's availability is going to be or what their plans with him are. It doesn't seem like they want him beyond this year anyway. What kind of team they're going to build around Luka. The Clippers have clarity. I think I would disagree with Howard a little bit. They just wanted a bunch of old guys. Like, I mean, literally, it's Harden, it's Kawhi, it's Chris Paul, it's Brook Lopez. I mean, it's an ancient team. It's like the Golden State team. Bradley Beal. Like, I have some clarity there. Now, Memphis, it's tougher to have clarity because they just traded Bane. They got all these picks. You can't really trust Ja. I mean, they signed Jaren Jackson to a huge contract that I honestly think they're going to regret. And Dallas, it's funny to have Dallas and the Lakers in the same tier after they just made that trade. Like, what is Dallas's clarity? Like, they're going to try to build around AD before he breaks? Is that the plan?
Yeah, essentially what Howard said was you have to hope that the rookie is good enough while the 2 old guys in Kyrie and AD are healthy enough to be great. So, like, that's they're straddling 2 timelines now because they didn't expect to get the first pick.
Right. The NBA basically handed them that, and no, they weren't going to turn it down. Just like the Lakers weren't going to turn down Luka. So look, I think as far as we look at this now, and if you look at the teams, can you check real quick of the teams in the tier right below the Heat that the Heat were in last year? Was that the stained glass tier last year they were in?
Yeah, and this year that's the Hornets, Suns, Blazers, and Jazz. I don't think you want to be in any tier with those teams.
Well, okay. I guess the Jazz, it's fairly clear, but they're holding on to Markkanen. And
Yeah.
I don't know what Ainge is doing. I don't know what he thinks he's going to get for Markkanen, who seems like he's been devalued now from where he was a year ago. I mean, it's clear, like, they seems to have hit on Clayton Jr. and Ace Bailey in the draft. So I would think you go to pivot around there and then just accumulate whatever assets you can for Laurie. The Hornets, I have no idea. I really don't. It feels to me like they have to trade LaMelo.
Yeah,
but they don't want to because he's box office, right? Like, is that the only? I mean, that would be whatever box office they have is through him. But I don't know.
And the Blazers are just going to prep this year for Dame's finale next year.
Well, I mean, David Drew being on the same team is kind of funny considering all the shenanigans that went on related to both of them at the time with the trade and everything else, and the Heat trying to get both of them. I mean, they have some interesting young players. I mean, Avdija is interesting. Kamara is interesting. Like, he's actually accumulated. I'll give Cronin credit. Like, he's accumulated. And they finished only 1 game worse than the Heat last year in a much tougher conference. So it's hard for me to laugh at Joe Cronin lately. But is he going to dig them out of this? I mean, he's still sitting on the Jeremy Grant contract. Who are the teams in the bottom tier, Greg? Because that would be worse than those, I guess.
The Funhouse Mirror tier, the Bulls, the
Okay, wait, hold
Pelicans,
on. The Kings, right? It got to be the Kings.
the Kings, and the Raptors. Yep. Yeah, I should have just led with them, but they're third on the list here. But yeah, Chicago,
That's
New Orleans,
before the
Sacramento,
Westbrook
Toronto.
acquisition. Okay, all right. So let's go through them here, and again, be thankful if you're the Heat, you're not in this tier. The Kings, who somehow were recreating Bulls play-in West with Sabonis instead of Vucevic, then have
So
added
weird.
Westbrook to repair Westbrook with Schroeder. They still have Malik Monk on the roster.
Extended
don't
Keegan
know.
Murray today.
Right, to a big number, to like $28 million a year. He's not even going to get
Yeah.
ready for the start of the season. They don't have. It's like where Zach Lowe said, "I hate their team," and I'm with Howard on this. I don't know what the heck they're doing. What was the other one? I'm sorry. The Pelicans traded Dumars is going to torch that thing. He's not good at this job. Like I know he put that original Pistons team together, then didn't draft Carmelo, but like he traded.
If you trade for Jordan Poole, it's not a good offseason.
Well, Jordan Poole, but they also traded up for the big, and they traded a future first unprotected to move up. I forgot which big it was. To move up to take a big who is projected to go lower than that. He has to turn into an all-star like in his first 3 seasons. You gave up an unprotected first. The Raptors are weird because there's talent on that team. But Masai was the one putting it together, and now he's not in charge. So now they've got this big Ingram contract. They haven't traded Barrett. They've got Quickly. Scotty Barnes is really good, but I don't think he's a build-around player. Grady Dick has made progress, but there doesn't seem to be a spot for him.
There was a time where Scotty Barnes was talked about as like the most valuable young player in the league by like Bill Simmons, for instance, and when he does his trade value stuff. So I think them coming to the realization that Scotty Barnes is not a franchise player is it's noteworthy.
Would you trade Bam Adebayo for Scotty Barnes?
No.
About a year ago, some people were saying that.
100%.
Yeah.
There's probably some people that will yell at me for saying no.
For saying that. I think there's like a nice collection of talent, and they'll probably beat the Heat 3 out of 4 times. But like I just
because of Jakob Poeltl, bro.
Right. But I don't really know what they're doing. So I guess the sum total of this is, and I appreciate how we're doing this exercise, okay? Because I think it kind of falls in line with us, although I might have put the Heat in the 3rd tier this year. I might have. Because I do see a direction now that's clearer than it was before. It's just hard to see the end result of it because you're not winning anything significant with Hero and Bam as your 2 best players. So that's just where I'm at with it. Like you can with them being 2 or their 3 best players if the other guy is better than both of them. Like that's where I'm at, and I don't know how they get that guy because it feels like still this team everybody is slotted one spot too far up. I think Powell helps it, but they've got a lot of number 3s and number 4s. I think Wiggins is too.
Howard says, I think in the piece, he says that they don't have a North Star anymore. If that wasn't him, somebody mentioned that recently, and I thought that was well put. Like that's the next thing that they need to go and find, right? So it's just they're waiting to pounce on the right transaction, but as many people have noted, there's a lot of teams that can outbid them. So you have to wait for circumstances as well.
Right. And then you have to count on your history and all the rest of this thing and your coach being named the U.S. Olympic coach, which doesn't hurt. By the way, Eric Spoelstra will have a press conference where they officially announce this from the Heat side. I mean, they have from the Heat side at this point, but that will be on Thursday. So for all those, I might be down there. I think Brady will be down there. But a great honor for Spo. We've talked about it on the podcast, and I think a real benefit to the Heat going forward. So
maybe we'll see. The biggest reason that they're in a respectable tier in any of these tiers is that you can count on Spoelstra.
I think for a lot of the national guys and knowing Howard's view of it, yes. And again, I take the opinions of the likes of Mark Spears, Zach Lowe, Howard Beck over a lot of the others because they talk to people around the league and they do the research. And I know that from working in some capacity with a lot of those guys. I also want to say one thing too. ESPN's coverage is getting better on the NBA. I know that was a priority for the league. That Silver was not happy with it. You should catch Tim Legler's work on the Coach's Corner with he did. I saw him with Doc, but like it'd be nice if they get back to actual basketball, which is hard with Screaming A. But it was good to
Matthias
see
and
that.
Steve will be there soon, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, they're doing a lot of good work too. So, appreciate that. And obviously we try to provide as much of that as we can in our limited scope here. Greg, appreciate it. Again, you can follow him at Greg Sylvander, me at Ethan J. Skolnick and 5 Reasons Sports. Prize Picks, we didn't mention that, but use the code 5, FIVE. Get in before the NBA season. They've got the futures on there too. I'll just ask you this real quick because I did a podcast today with our guy for Big Picks Energy, Cesar. Okay, if you had to play one of these over, okay? I should say over, more. Tyler Hero, 24 points a game. Norm Powell, 20 points a game. Bam Adebayo, 20 points a game.
I'm actually going to go Bam.
Nope. I didn't go Bam.
Who
do you think
Tyler?
I went?
Nope. You went Tyler.
Nope.
Norm?
Nope.
Really?
Nope. Mm-hmm.
None of them.
Norm. Tyler was at 23.9 last year. And there will be more help for him this year. His efficiency may be better, but I think the scoring number actually goes down. I don't trust Bam to get to 20.
You knew I was taking Bam.
I knew you were. I think Norm scores an easy 20. I think and I know there are people inside the organization who think he's going to be an all-star. The only way he gets there is if he's averaging 22 plus because he doesn't put up rebound and assist numbers. So I'm going to say, from what I've seen in the preseason, if I was to say any of the three of those, I don't think there's going to be a 4-point difference between Tyler and Norm. And I'll just say it. I don't trust Bam on offense to be consistent. I'm sorry. I don't.
This is a prove-it season for him. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So there you are. All right. Appreciate it. We'll be back with more content over the course of the week.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.